This is the podcast overview for the objectives on Chapter 8, Nutrition, Weight Control, Diet, Exercise, and Safety. So right off the bat, as you open up the chapter, you're going to be looking at the characteristics of diabetes, both type 1 and type 2. And this is especially important with the module that you're doing this week. If we go back up to look at the module, you're going to be working on the digestive system, which is acutely affected by diabetes. So this will give you a good understanding of just how the disease affects the digestive system, and then the health outcomes related to diabetes, as well as why adherence is so hard for diabetics, what it is about the regimen that makes it very difficult to follow, and what is actually involved in the self-management of diabetes. And you'll want to be familiar with the various psychosocial factors in diabetic care. So here we're not necessarily talking about the medical care, right? We're talking about all the other things that have to do with the person who has diabetes. So family issues, access to medical care issues, health literacy, income, education, how all of those types of things affect how people cope with the disease, and how it differs based on whether somebody is a child or adolescent versus an adult with diabetes. So there's a good deal of time spent on that illness. Then it's going to get into the basic components of food, looking at the elements of food. You'll talk about all the basics from carbohydrates to proteins, to the specific nutrients within food, six basic food groups, and then distinguish between what people are eating versus what people should be eating. Being very specific there. What foods are bad? What foods are good? What should we be having more of? What is affecting us negatively that we're eating too much of? And then be able to explain what the public response has been to mass media campaigns to eat healthier. So one thing we've been talking about all semester is that the role of a health psychologist is often kind of tangled up into public policy and health promotion and disease prevention. And so often some of the major campaigns that you see launched for people to eat healthier or stop smoking or exercise more come from a venue of health psychology. Well, how do people respond to those kinds of media campaigns when it involves eating healthier? Are they successful? Are they not? Examples, reasons why. So be familiar with how that all operates. And we're going to dive into looking at the links between diet and several different diseases like atherosclerosis. Specifically, you're going to want to know the mechanisms involved in atherosclerosis and heart disease in general, but particularly here you're looking at the role of lipoproteins and cholesterol, the specifics of food that lead to clogged arteries over time, and then also the link between those and hypertension and cancer. So you want to know what is hypertension, like what is high blood pressure, what is normal blood pressure, the mechanics and the specifics there, and what kinds of cancer have been linked to diet, and how strong is the research there in that area. You also want to know the definitions of what it means to be overweight. How do we define overweight, and how do we define obesity? How is that measured? And as well as the sociocultural aspects that feed into obesity. So when we talk about sociocultural aspects, we're talking about things like age and gender and race and SES. How do those things moderate the relationship between obesity and illness and health, what might be the role of heredity in obesity, and then what psychosocial factors are involved just in weight control overall. Lastly, explain how we as a society can prevent obesity, what kinds of campaigns might work, what kinds of targeted prevention plans have found success. Also be able to explain the role of the following treatments in losing weight. So there's many different ways of attacking weight loss. We have fad diets, we have exercise, we have behavioral and cognitive methods, self-help groups, as well as some medically supervised approaches. So know the pros and cons of each of those, what's used most, and what that would look like for people. Then we're going to dive just very briefly into eating disorders, looking at anorexia and bulimia, the origins of both disorders, and the types of treatments available to people suffering from those. The health effects of exercise. What benefits do we get psychologically and physiologically when we exercise? And what's lacking in exercise today in society? Where are we falling short? How are we missing the mark? Why are we the most obese nation on the planet? It has a lot to do not just with what we're eating, but the types of exercise we're getting or lack thereof. We live a very sedentary lifestyle here in America, so we want to talk about some of those aspects. And then lastly, be familiar with the ways in which we as a society can promote exercise and overall healthier living. And then ending sort of with the accident piece of this chapter, the prevalence of accidents and environmental hazards faced by individuals today. So this kind of falls into the lumped category of prevention. Right? A lot of accidents and hazards can be prevented by just knowledge and understanding of what to avoid in the environment. All right, and then you have the digestive system. So here again, you want to be able to explain how the body breaks down and digests food. What are the mechanics of that? So understanding and identifying the different parts of the digestive system responsible for that. Then being familiar with the various disorders of the digestive system. What are they? Who's more prone to them? How do they arise? And understanding the basic mechanics of metabolism, like what's a calorie? What's basal metabolic rate? How do we measure those and why are they important? What does metabolism have to do with our bodies and our eating and our exercising? So be familiar with how that all operates. And that wraps up Chapter 8.